Keanu Reeves steps into a luxurious restaurant nestled in the heart of the city. Dressed in simple, slightly wrinkled clothes, he looks as though he's just come from an ordinary day. He chooses a discreet table, hoping to go unnoticed, while the glow of crystal chandeliers illuminates the space around him. Before he even has a chance to place his order, a waitress approaches him with a look of disdain and an arrogant posture. "Are you sure you can afford to be here?" she snaps, her tone laced with irony, loud enough for other patrons to hear. What happens next not only leaves everyone in the restaurant stunned, but also reveals a truth that changes everything. Before we continue the story, let us know where you're watching from. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel because tomorrow at 12:30 p.m., we have another special story for you. The Lumiere restaurant is a symbol of sophistication in Beverly Hills. Located on one of the city's most prestigious avenues, its wide windows offer a view of streets illuminated by luxurious neon signs and slow-moving sports cars. Inside, every detail is carefully curated to impress. Lumiere isn't just a restaurant. It's a destination for those who want to be seen and admired. Ashley, one of Lumiere's most experienced waitresses, moves confidently through the dining room, wearing a rehearsed smile. Her immaculate bun and tailored uniform reinforce her image of efficiency and control. Working there isn't just a job, it's a privilege. At least, that's how Ashley sees it. Being a waitress at one of Beverly Hills' most renowned restaurants is something she mentions with pride whenever she gets the chance. But Ashley has another side, an exaggerated pride that often spills over into arrogance. She has a peculiar talent for quickly judging patrons, mentally categorizing them based on their clothing, demeanor, and appearance. Some people just don't belong here, she often thinks. The restaurant's glass door swings open smoothly, and a man walks in. He wears worn-out jeans, a simple shirt, and a jacket that looks comfortable but lacks any hint of luxury branding. His presence is understated, almost invisible, as he calmly makes his way to the reception desk. Keanu Reeves isn't a man who enjoys flaunting his wealth, despite being one of Hollywood's most well-known stars. His reserved demeanor stands in stark contrast to the extravagant sparkle of Beverly Hills, and at that moment, he seems like just another ordinary customer. Ashley is busy at the reception desk, discussing a VIP reservation with another staff member when she notices Keanu. She abruptly stops talking, her gaze narrowing as she assesses him with barely concealed disdain. He doesn't look anything like the typical Lumiere clientele. Without hiding her reaction, she tilts her head and gives him a slow once-over, her eyes lingering on his scuffed boots. "Good evening," she says in a dry tone, forcing a smile that disappears almost instantly. "How can I help you?" "I'd like a table, please," Keanu replies, his tone polite and calm. Ashley raises an eyebrow, as if she's just heard something absurd. Her expression seems to ask, "How dare he?" She crosses her arms, her smile vanishing entirely. "Are you sure you're in the right place? This is a very exclusive restaurant." Keanu continues to smile, unfazed. "Yes, this is the place," he replies calmly. Ashley lets out a short, incredulous laugh, shaking her head. "Okay, just a moment. I need to check something." She turns quickly, not bothering to maintain any semblance of politeness, and heads to the reception office. There, she accesses the reservation system, typing his name with an exaggerated flair. When nothing comes up, she rolls her eyes and returns to the dining area, visibly annoyed. "Well, as I suspected, you don't have a reservation," she says, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "We do have a few tables available, but just so you know, this isn't a casual dining spot." Keanu remains unbothered, his calm demeanor seemingly irritating her even more. "I'd like to dine here," he replies, his tone unchanged. Ashley lets out an exaggerated sigh, grabbing a menu with an abrupt motion. "All right, but I'll need to seat you in a suitable area. Follow me." She begins walking briskly through the dining room without looking back to see if he's following. When they reach the farthest, least appealing corner of the restaurant, she drops the menu on the table with an audible thud. "Here you go. This table is perfect for you," she says in a falsely sweet tone. "If you need anything, let me know. But only if it's necessary, okay?" Keanu maintains his slight smile, ignoring her tone. Thank you. I'm sure this will be an interesting experience. As she walks away, Ashley mutters under her breath, loud enough for a nearby couple to hear. He won't last 5 minutes here. Bet he'll leave as soon as he opens the menu. Across the dining room, Keanu calmly opens the menu, his eyes scanning the options without haste. The live music continues to fill the air, but something about his posture is intriguing, as if nothing could disturb his serenity. From the other side of the room, Ashley watches with a smug smile, certain that he will soon ask for the check and disappear. Ashley leads Keanu through the dining room with quick, mechanical steps, not even bothering to look at him. Instead of choosing a table in the center, where the golden light from the chandeliers highlights the elegance of the environment, she takes him to the most hidden and poorly lit corner of the restaurant. It's a table near the kitchen, where the sound of dishes being washed and the muffled chatter of staff create an atmosphere far removed from the rest of the dining room. Here you go. This table should do, she says, dropping the menu on the table carelessly. I think you'll feel comfortable here. It's more private. Keanu glances at the table and then at Ashley, his slight smile unwavering. Thank you, he replies calmly. She crosses her arms and narrows her eyes, as if trying to figure out whether he's being sarcastic or simply clueless. You're welcome, she replies, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Just so you know, we usually reserve these tables for special cases, but since we don't have anything booked tonight, you can have it. Spinning on her heels, she leaves before he can respond. When Ashley returns to the table to take his order, her behavior becomes even more cruel. She pulls out her notepad with an exaggerated motion and casts a cold glance at Keanu. Have you decided what you'd like? She asks, not bothering to hide the boredom in her voice. Or would you like a recommendation? Keanu looks at the menu and calmly points to one of the most expensive main courses. I'd like to try this one. Ashley stifles a laugh, covering her mouth with one hand, as if trying to hold back a snide comment. Oh, of course, the filet de boeuf rossini, she says with a condescending tone. A classic dish. Just to confirm, sir, you do know this costs $350, right? Keanu nods, his calm demeanor unchanging. Yes, it sounds wonderful. She tilts her head, her lips curling into a malicious smile. All right then. Just to make sure there aren't any misunderstandings later, I suggest you double-check the prices. We wouldn't want anyone to have unpleasant surprises. Keanu remains unfazed, which seems to irritate her even more. I'm certain, he says calmly. Ashley lets out a dramatic sigh, as if she's doing him a huge favor, and jots down the order. Very well. As you wish. But I'll warn you, our chef prefers dishes like this to be enjoyed by those who truly appreciate fine dining. I hope it meets your expectations. She spins on her heels again, but before leaving, she stops and turns back. Oh, and one more thing. The minimum tip expected here is 20%. Keep that in mind while you enjoy. As he waits, Keanu seems entirely unaffected by the discomfort Ashley tries to create. He glances around the dining room, admiring the decor and the pianist's performance. When the appetizer arrives, Ashley sets the plate down forcefully, causing it to slide slightly across the table. Here's your appetizer. I hope you enjoy it, or at least know what you're eating, she says with a mocking smile. Keanu thanks her politely. Thank you. Ashley leans in slightly, as if trying to provoke a reaction. You know, a lot of customers who order this dish end up not liking it. It's not exactly mainstream, but I think you'll do just fine. Good luck. Keanu looks at her with the same calm expression as always. It looks excellent. Thank you for your attention. Frustrated that she can't elicit any negative reaction from him, Ashley walks away quickly, muttering something to a coworker. That guy won't even make it to the main course. He's going to ask for the check as soon as he sees the bill. Meanwhile, Keanu continues to eat his appetizer leisurely. Across the dining room, Ashley watches from a distance, her arms crossed. A malicious smile spreads across her face as she notices that he seems distracted. I bet he's going to ask for tap water. These types always do, she comments to another staff member, who visibly ignores her, uncomfortable. However, The elderly customer at a nearby table continues to observe. He raises his wine glass and silently toasts in Keanu's direction, who responds with a slight nod and a smile. Dinner is only just beginning, but Ashley's growing disdain won't go unnoticed for much longer. After taking Keanu's order, Ashley decides to teach a lesson to the customer she believes has no right to be there. Instead of promptly taking the order to the kitchen, she makes a point of prioritizing the patrons she deems more important. She stops to chat with an elegant couple in the center of the dining room, laughs exaggeratedly at a joke told by another guest, and even delivers a cocktail to a table that isn't hers. Meanwhile, time passes, and Keanu continues to wait patiently. In an attempt to provoke him further, Ashley repeatedly walks past his table, pretending to be busy. Every time he glances in her direction, she averts her eyes and quickens her steps, as if she's too occupied to attend to him. After a long wait, Keanu is approached by one of the patrons who has been observing Ashley's behavior. The elderly man, with neatly combed white hair and dressed in a navy blue suit, approaches with a kind smile. "Good evening, young man. I hope you don't mind me interrupting, but I've noticed that you've been overlooked," he says, his tone polite yet firm. Keanu smiles back calmly. "Good evening. Don't worry, it's all fine." The elderly man chuckles softly and leans in to speak more quietly. "You know, sometimes being treated like this is a test of our patience. But I can say with certainty that maintaining your composure is a great sign of strength." Before Keanu can reply, Ashley suddenly appears, interrupting the conversation. "Sir, can I help you with something?" she asks the elderly man, her voice more polished than usual, but with a subtly authoritative tone. "I wouldn't want you to disturb our customer." The elderly man narrows his eyes at her, but maintains his composure. "Don't worry, miss. I was just greeting this gentleman here. It's rare to find someone so serene." Ashley lets out an exaggerated sigh and gestures toward the man's table. "Well, perhaps you should return to your table and enjoy your dinner," she says, clearly impatient. Keanu simply observes the interaction, his expression calm yet analytical. "Thank you for coming over," he says to the elderly man with a slight nod. "It was a pleasure speaking with you." The man nods and returns to his table, but not before casting one last look of disapproval at Ashley, who appears entirely indifferent. When Ashley finally decides to bring Keanu's main course, she makes sure to take longer than necessary. First, she stops in the kitchen to chat with the chefs, leaving the dish sitting under the warming lamp. Then, she returns to the dining room to attend another table, completely ignoring the ready plate. When she finally brings the dish out, she places it on Keanu's table with a brusque gesture. "Here's your order. I hope you enjoy it," she says, her tone dripping with irony. "Oh, and if you don't like it, please let us know. We can always adjust to something more affordable." Keanu thanks her with the same calm demeanor as before. "It looks excellent. Thank you." Ashley gives a cynical smile and leans in slightly, lowering her voice just enough for him to hear clearly. "Are you sure? It's a very sophisticated dish. It might be difficult for someone who's not used to it." "I'm sure," Keanu replies serenely. "Thank you for your concern." Frustrated that she can't elicit any negative reaction from him, Ashley walks away quickly. At the bar, Ashley comments to a coworker who is unsuccessfully trying to ignore her remarks. "He's pretending to be polite, but it's obvious he's uncomfortable," she says with a laugh, placing an empty glass on the counter. "I bet he doesn't even know what he's eating." It's always the same with these types. They come here to feel important but end up making fools of themselves. Her coworker forces a smile, visibly uncomfortable. "Maybe he just wants to have dinner, Ashley. Maybe we should treat him like any other customer." She stares at him, incredulous. "Like any other customer? Did you see the boots he's wearing? He doesn't belong here, and frankly, if he can't handle it, he shouldn't even have walked through the door." Meanwhile, the couple who has been observing the scene earlier whispers to each other. "She's awful," the woman says, shaking her head. "He's being so polite, but she keeps trying to humiliate him." "I agree," the man frowns. "It's disgraceful. I think we should say something to the manager." Back at his table, Keanu calmly finishes his main course. He glances around, sensing the sympathetic looks of other patrons, but he doesn't appear the least bit bothered. When Ashley returns to clear the plate, her expression is still filled with disdain. "So, how was the dish? Did it meet your expectations?" she asks with a fake smile. Keanu looks her straight in the eyes and replies, "It was excellent. Thank you. Please tell the chefs they did an impeccable job." She raises her eyebrows, surprised that she can't provoke any complaints or irritation. As she walks away, she mutters to herself, but loudly enough to be heard, "He might be smiling now, but let's see if he still is when the bill comes." Seated at the table, Keanu calmly observes, a slight smile on his face. His gaze suggests that the moment to act is drawing ever closer. Ashley, increasingly frustrated by her inability to provoke Keanu, decides to escalate her provocations. After serving him the coffee he requested, she deliberately speaks loudly enough for several nearby tables to hear. "You know, it's hard to maintain standards when just anyone thinks they can walk in," she says to a colleague, casting a pointed glance in Keanu's direction. The colleague, visibly uncomfortable, tries to change the subject, but Ashley continues, "That's why we have a reservations policy. It helps us avoid situations like this." Several patrons nearby begin paying attention, some frowning, others whispering among themselves. The couple who has been following the situation looks outraged. The woman places her hand on her chest, murmuring, "This is outrageous." She's trying to humiliate the man in public. The elderly man at another table takes a sip of his wine, observing the scene with a look of disapproval. He mutters under his breath, "This has gone too far." Keanu, still seated calmly at his table, surveys the room without a hint of irritation. His serene demeanor seems to unsettle Ashley even more, as she now feels the eyes of other patrons on her. A well-dressed woman seated 2 tables ahead comments to her companion, "He must be someone important to stay this calm. Anyone else would have left by now. Or maybe he's just stronger than she realizes," the man replies, casting a curious glance at Keanu. Determined to provoke a reaction, Ashley returns to Keanu's table to ask if he needs anything else, but her approach is anything but professional. "I hope you're enjoying your experience," she says with an exaggeratedly sarcastic smile. After all, it's always interesting to have different kinds of people here. It adds a unique touch to the atmosphere. Keanu, fixing her with a steady gaze, finally responds, his voice calm but carrying weight. "Different? Could you explain what you mean by that?" Ashley lets out a short, nervous laugh, trying to maintain her composure. "Oh, don't take it the wrong way. It's just that, well, our clientele typically has a more traditional profile. It's rare to see someone with your style here." The room falls silent. Nearby diners stop their conversations, clearly tuning into what's happening. Ashley seems pleased with the attention she's receiving, believing she has the situation under control. Keanu stays silent for a few moments, holding her gaze. His expression is firm but devoid of anger. Finally, he speaks, "You're right. Perhaps I should handle this differently." Ashley blinks, confused, but before she can respond, the restaurant manager appears. The manager, a middle-aged man with an impeccable posture and an air of authority, scans the room and immediately senses the tense atmosphere. When his eyes land on Keanu, his expression changes drastically. He hurries over to the table, completely ignoring Ashley. "Mr. Reeves," the manager exclaims, his tone filled with respect. "I wasn't aware you were visiting us today. Please let me know how I can assist you." Ashley's face turns pale, the blood draining as she watches the scene unfold. She glances at the manager, then at Keanu, utterly bewildered. Keanu holds the manager's gaze for a moment before turning his attention back to Ashley. "Now," he says, his tone calm but commanding, "let's talk about how we treat people." The silence in. If you enjoyed this story, we have many more that will warm your heart. Click the screen to explore more stories of hope, compassion, and resilience.